What is going on, folks? I am Goat, and welcome back to Warframe. So let's talk about the Warframe Experience. Yeah, the Warframe Experience. The Warframe Experience is such an interesting thing. And it's so personal as far as your gameplay. It's so expansive. It's just so off the chain, right? I mean, it's just, there's so much to it. So we're going to talk about a couple of things. We're going to talk about where this game stands with so many others, right? We're definitely going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the meta of the game, because I hear that spoken about so much. The meta of the game, the meta of Warframe. What is the meta of Warframe? Well, if you don't know what meta means, it's most effective tactics available, okay? So basically, the game dictates to you the best plausible way to kill enemies. In Warframe, that's just severe onslaught of death, as much as you can hand out. But what... Excuse me. But what is the meta, right? Well, I can't speak on anything pre-2020, and the truth of it is that I'm neither qualified nor was I high enough ranked to speak on what the meta was of 2020. Anything prior to 2020, I wasn't even playing the game, so I don't know. But 2020 up to 2021, I had 9 months of game time. I only got up to Mastery 16, and I was a very one-trick pony kind of player, right? So do I really have the qualifications to speak on the meta of what it was to play the game in 2020? No, not really. I was still learning. Excuse me. I was still evolving as a player. I was still evolving my understanding of the game and so on. So, I mean, yeah. So, but 2021 really taught me a lot. 2021 taught me a fuck ton about this game, because there was a lot of buffs, there was a lot of nerfs, there was new warframes, there was kind of seeing, you know, the base things in the game that work and the things that don't by just simple trial and error. There was just all sorts of things about this game that I learned. And in doing so, in learning, I learned how to get to top mastery within my grasp. Right? I mean, that's what it is. So what is the meta of Warframe right now? Well, the meta of Warframe right now is to basically kill as much as humanly possible. But that doesn't say a lot, does it? Well, specifically AoE and melee, or multiple enemy impact and melee. Right? I mean, obviously abilities come into play because that's the core function of a Warframe. So those abilities need to be either tanky or all-encompassing damage to the frame, or to the enemy, right? In the case of Nezha, you're talking about tanky, right? In the case of Lavos, you're talking about, you know, damage to enemy plus tanky plus self-sustaining. Talking about Mesa, you're talking about mostly tanky because she got a shit ton of damage absorption and sheer murder upon the enemy of almost every level. Wukong is immensely self-sustaining and is the most popular frame in the game at the moment, which I don't necessarily agree with per se, but I do understand it. You know, but weapons. I mean, seriously. Something like the Trumna. You guys have seen me do my filthy casual, you know, seal essence farming and acolyte farming and things like that. And when you see me only popping, you know, triple digit and quadruple digit numbers against the enemies, I'm sure you're thinking, what the fuck? It's the status duration that I'm shooting for with this weapon, okay? And then the alternate fire of this weapon, which again doesn't seem immensely wonderful, minus the critical chance, the critical multiplier, and the status chance of this weapon is just mind-bogglingly good. You gotta understand that the base number is kind of a lie, okay? Like, the base number is a bit of a lie. That 479 may be accurate, maybe not, just depends on each hit. but you've got a percentage of the status that's going to hit the enemy. You've got a chance to crit the enemy, and then you have a multiplier of damage that can multiplicatively stack with the status chance or the critical chance, depending on where you're at in the percentage of status. So, I mean, that number is like top cap if no other things apply. That 479 points of damage is basically the top damage with no criticals, with no status, and in a perfect scenario. You can build a gun to do, 20,000 points of damage, right? Is it guaranteed that it's going to do 20,000 points of damage? Absolutely not, but the number will tell you it does. That's why you have to understand your builds, right? But the meta says do AoE. Well, this motherfucker does some big ass AoE. Okay, we're talking a range of 6 meters. Okay, this is just a radial attack, but a range of 6 meters, which doesn't sound like a lot, but I can tell you right now, it's more like 20, because little fireworks and embers fall off and explode, and it covers a broad area. It really does. So, I mean, it's just... The Trumna is very, very, very much kind of a lie. Okay, because even the direct fire has a fucking radial attack. Okay, that's based off of the damage, off the critical chance, critical multiplier, and the status chance. So your primary fire has radial damage. Your alt fire has massive radial damage and extremely high stats to boot. AoE, or all-encompassing enemy. Kuva Nukor, Tenet Cycron, perfect examples. The Tomos is another one. Not near as good, though. The Tenet Cycron. Okay, now this is my heat procced one that I stacked up with by getting another Sister of Parvos. It's a true heat viral build. Okay, so we're melting armor and we are detrimentally damaging health, right? But it's the status. Okay, 120% status, which means you're doing 120% capped out of lasting damage. Yes, thank you very much. But this thing changed from one enemy to another enemy to another enemy, which is why when you see me use it in those filthy casual videos, I just stand there and I just shoot one enemy and it kills 15 of them. Just like the Kuva Nukor, it just chains. So yeah, so this thing's really good. The Guando Prime, not the best melee in the game. I think it's top 5, I want to say. But not the best melee in the game, but it's the best polearm in the game. I will tell you that without question. But again, it comes down to stats. How you build it. Now, my particular preferential build is speed, combo duration, crit chance, crit multiplier, and then it's base stats plus viral. Now, I also have a corrosive bit, and I have a corrosive build and a radiation build, all based off of crit and speed. Is this the perfect deal? No, of course it's not. But this is perfect for me, because it works. But that's where the meta of the game kind of takes a skewing direction, because I could use something like, I don't know, the Kuva Ogress. This particular Kuva Ogress build is very simple. Don't stagger yourself. Make sure you gain ammunition. Cover an area with damage. Just like Fulmination, except this just leaves a lasting fire to status proc the living fuck out of everything. You want to do a bunch of fucking heat damage if at all possible. You want to do a bunch of base damage. And you want to pick a specific type of damage because you're working solely from status chance. You want to make sure that the type of damage you're doing is very detrimental to your enemy. Now, this is going to turn into another configuration setup, kind of like what you just saw with my Trumna. It's going to be a viral, a corrosive, and a radiation. Because the viral works against multiple enemy types. But this works. This works very well, okay? I sat here, I sat on the steel path with Monster, and I literally just shot, 2 of these fucking little rocket grenade things at a group of in front of a group of enemies, and I status proc level 185, infested, which is whatever, they're squishy. But I status proc level 185 infested and killed 30 of them with 2 grenades. Right, It's knowing the builds. It's knowing the meta. Yeah, sure, AoE weapons are great. The Kuva Tonkor is great. It's great. It's absolutely fucking great. This doesn't look amazing, but this works extremely well. It's an AoE attack weapon. It works extremely fucking well. So sure, I could use the Kuvaton core. I could use the Tenet Archiplasmor, which I have stacked, by the way. And this thing is a fucking absolute destroyer of all things with a fucking heartbeat, or a computer pushing them along. This thing just fucking melts everything. It's wrong. It's ridiculously wrong. So you want all-encompassing AoE weapons, which, sure. I mean, or, something like the Envoy, the Ogress, the Tonkor, the Archiplasmor, the Exceltra, the Kuva Brahma, the Kuva Tsar. Or you want something that just absolutely punches it in the fucking face. The Kuva Heck. The Tenet Archiplasmor, surprisingly. Or, I'm sorry, not the Archiplasmor, the Tenet Flux Rifle, the Kuva Comb, the Kuva Chakur. The Amprex is another chain one. It's just base electric chaining. The Astilla Prime is another good shotgun, but it's a glass driver, so it's pretty cool. The Bobonico is another AoE or direct damage one, but it has a radial attack for both. The Corinth Prime is a spread shotgun. The Cedo is fucking amazeballs. I mean, I can go on and on. The Ignis Wraith is another extremely good fucking weapon. I mean, if you want to just heat proc the living bejesus out of everything and just kill it at great distance, Ignis Wraith all day. The Nadaruk is fucking amazing. I actually run that on my Valkyr. The Phantasma, although limited clip, it's actually a very good weapon. The Probosa Cernos is another AoE controlling weapon with a base toxin proc. The Quelor, surprisingly, a lot of people kind of misunderstand or don't necessarily like, but it's got an AoE function. It is direct fire, and it's got a very slow reload, but it also has a blasting alt fire that does radial damage, so that's not bad. Pinpoint accurate fire. Yup. The Shidu is direct hit plus radial damage. Snipertron Vandal, I'm still working with that one. I still prefer the Rubico Prime, obviously. The Stalta is both. It's direct. It's everything the Boltor wishes it could be. The Strun Prime, surprisingly, the Strun Prime is actually a pretty good shotgun. I really didn't want to say that because I hated the Strun. The Strun Prime's actually a pretty fucking good shotgun. The Tenora Prime, pinpoint accuracy or a blasting alt fire. Tiger's Prime, in its own right, is a decent shotgun, but it is showing its age compared to other weapons. The Trumna is, as you see me playing it, very, very high power. The Opticore Vandal is very powerful, but limited to one shot and timed fire. But again, this comes back to, what is the meta, right? Well, here is my question for you, because we're going to cover this. There's a dude that I came across. I came across this video a few months back. Josh Strife Hayes. Forgive if I say that incorrectly. Josh Strife Hayes. He does a series called Worst MMO Ever. And he did Warframe. Now, before anybody goes and throws hate, just understand he actually didn't classify it as Worst MMO Ever. He said it was confusing, if I remember correctly. But the base gameplay he absolutely fucking loved. He loved the game engine. He loved, the movement mechanics of the game. He loved all these different things about the game. The only thing he hated is once you're out of War's Prize and once you're out of the tutorial, you're just kind of left to your own, your own desires and whims, but you have no idea what the fuck you're supposed to do, right? How many times have I said this? From the new player perspective, this is something Digital Extremes absolutely needs to fix. One or two extra, beginner quests only. Not something that, established players need to even see in the codex at this point, but just beginner players directly after Voyage Prize. Here, this is the mod bench. This is how it functions. Let's go do a quest and do some missions to go pick up certain mods that aren't flawed mods and cover why. Well, Operator, this will make you stronger. Operator, this will make your ability stronger. Give them baby steps instead of just throwing them to the wind and having the expectation that somebody's going to understand what the fuck they're supposed to do with the game other than the junction system. I've said this time and time again. But he also did a retort video because a lot of people made a comment, and I understand the people's comments, and I do have a counterpoint to this, okay? He made a point, and his point is not invalidated, by the way, just so you're aware. He made a point to retort to the massive amount of comments that bombarded his comments made during the Worst MMO Ever not Warframe, because he did like the game. He just didn't like how it just kind of left you hanging and trying to figure out what the fuck you're supposed to do and hope like hell that you find friends that can help you. A lot of people said the game gets so much better after playing 100 hours. I agree with him in one perspective of his retort video to this. If a game requires you to spend 100 hours playing it to be good, it's not worth playing. The proper commenting would have been, you learn so much more about the game in your first 100 hours. Not the game gets better. I do agree that the game does get better after 100 hours. But you learn so much within the first 100 hours. That is really the truest comment of all. And this is where I will counter Josh's point to saying that if a game, if it takes 100 hours for a game to get good, it's not worth playing, or it may not be worth playing to you. And it is a valid point. Some games literally are so god awfully slow that they require so much fucking time to build that by the time you're done, you wish you would have never played it. This is not one of those games, in my opinion. The reason that it takes that kind of time to build up in something like Warframe is there's so much content to this game. Now, just for a matter of perspective, Josh posted his video last year. I think it was like last summer. Like I said, I came across it. I want to say it was November or December range. I can't remember for sure. I saw another creator talking about it very, very briefly, because as soon as I saw what it was about, I didn't want to spoil it for myself, so I went and watched his video directly because it was linked in the dude's video. I think it was Brosheim who was doing it. But I saw, worst MMO ever, Warframe, question mark, blah, 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 and I clicked on it, and I saw the link below, and I just stopped watching Brosheim's video, and I immediately went to Josh Hayes' video, and I watched it. And I didn't realize that he had put a retort out, because I was just like, well, yeah, I see the guy's point. And then he saw the retort, and I saw the retort, and I was like, oh, because I subbed to his channel. That's how much I agreed with his points in the game. Truth be told, I subbed to Josh Drive Hayes' channel simply because I agreed with his stance. It's not the worst MMO ever. It's got amazing mechanics. But it leaves the new player high and dry as soon as you finish the base tutorial of the game for his prize. Where I will argue the point politely and adultly, where I will argue the point is his retort being right? Yes. But this game's requirement, because of the amount of stuff, okay? There's two things in this game that dictate to you how much stuff there is to do, okay? 3, technically. The quest, okay? Just all quests. Hell, let's just do story quests, okay? Let's not even cover the side quests and the Warframe quest, right? Just the story quests. So this is the opening trailer. This is your tutorial. This is once shit gets going. At about the 50 to 70 hour mark is when you'll probably gain access to start doing the TA. Could be less. Could be less. I'm not going to lie. Could definitely be less. I see people, it takes 100 hours to get to the second dream. No, the fuck it does not. Okay. Spike in our clan, with a little help from a couple of players, and Joe in our clan, have all hit the second. I mean, they're all at the point of doing the new war, for Christ's sake. And Spike just hit 100 logins and probably has maybe 150 hours of gameplay. Okay. Maybe 150 hours of gameplay. That would be roughly pushing it. Okay. Rough guess. I don't know how much he's got. No, I can't see that stat from his. He'd have to tell me. But anyway, so story quest. Okay. My God, if my fucking controller would stop being so touchy. Thank you. So, but I mean, this is where you start getting into the real meat and potatoes of the lore. But up until you get to Nata, okay, everything else is a build up to it, right? Everything else is a build up to it. This has an entire side function that involves Kuvaliches, right? The War Within gives a very, very, very brief bit of why Kuvaliches are a thing. It's very subtle. But it's the Guardians and the Kuva Flood and Siphon missions that really tell you everything from the War Within as to why in the fuck the Liches are what they are. It's very much based on the Queens and what they want, right? And payback. You know, and in Call of Tempestari, which is a Warframe quest, also side quest, introduces Corpus Liches, or Core Sisters of Parvos. So, I mean, that's kind of their introduction. So it is what it is, right? But just this stuff here, the amount of time it takes to grind out all the stuff necessary to get to this point takes some fucking time. Okay, it takes some goddamn time, and it's well worth it if you're willing to spend the time. Now, if you're not the kind of person that has the spare time to just solely dedicate to this game, I'm not saying that you should. I'm not saying that you should give up your fucking, you know, your personal life in order to play a video game. Just understand it's going to take you quite a while to get to this point, but there's nothing wrong with that. You play at your own pace. I will tell you this. I get sick and tired of hearing about the meta. Okay, because the meta says that the Atromna shouldn't be my preferred gun. The meta, you know, again, I mean, I can go to find the video or the screen here. Oh my fucking god, where the hell is it? Warframe 2021 stats. Okay. The meta. The meta says that these are the stats, right? These are the base stats of what's best in the game, right? What works best in the game. Wukong Prime, that's a little fucked up to me. Wukong Prime is an amazingly good frame, don't get me wrong, but Wukong Prime being 10% of the all platform play, I understand Wukong's an amazing frame, he really is. I'd put him top 5. Oh wait, I did. He's number 4 for me in my list of who I think the best frames are as far as I play them. He's my 4th best. I think Wisp is an insanely good frame. Excalibur? That's new player base, guys. That's new people playing the game. All these stats, okay, like, you need to look at the heat map per mastery rank, okay? Because that's really going to tell you why Excalibur is as good as he is, right? So let's go look at Excalibur. Here's Excalibur. Here's why his number is so fucking big, because up to mastery rank, what? 4, 5. Mastery rank 5. 42%. 52%, 53%, 53%, 62%, because he's one of the top 3 frames chosen in the game, and he's the most popular to choose because even in the description says easiest to play for new players. So I think this stat needs to be kind of looked at a little bit more like by their level, right? I mean, yeah, most played in 2021, sure, but that's because a bunch of new people chose him. So let's just take Excalibur out of the equation. If I saw Excalibur Umbra there, I would be a little bit more interested. So we go from 10% to 4% with Wisp, and then 3.6% with Mesa, 3.2% with Volt, 3.1% with Saren, 3.03% with Umbra. Again, Volt's in there because of first choice frame. Rhino Prime, really? Necros Prime, really? Korra's down this low? Octavia's down this low? Really? Base Rhino, that's because he's easy to get. Anaros Prime, that's just because he's a tanky fuck. Gauze is down there? Like, I can see Avara. She's a sneaky bitch. I understand people like using her. Titania Prime has done this low. See, this is why I don't believe in the meta of the game as far as Warframes. I'm a firm believer that the meta of this game is what you make it. Right? Again, meta. It means most effective tactics possible, right? Sorry, most effective tactics available. I just said possible. That would be met. Most effective tactics available. Well, there's a lot available in this game, and it's going to fit your playstyle, right? Meta. You can't quite see it there, but meta. But weapons. See, again, this is what breaks my fucking head, right? Ignis Wraith for primary weapons. I get that. Exceltra. I get that. Kuva Brahma. I get that. Kuva Zar. AoE weapon. I get that. Rubico Prime. Extremely good. I get that. Shidu. It's pretty good. Kuva Ogress. Hey, anybody seen a pattern here of stuff that I listed? Sea-Doo. Proboscis. Cernos. Oh yeah, Fulman. I didn't even get to that one, but the Fulman's fucking good. I kind of passed the Fulman. Let's put it that way. Boltor. Shouldn't count. Tenet Archiplasmor, Bubonico. Let's go down the line here. Dread's pretty good. Soma Prime has been nerfed. Kuva Chakur honestly surprises me because that thing is a crit monster. The Stalta is very good. Kuva Comb is actually surprisingly good. Corinth Prime is good. Tenet Envoy. Amprex is good. Vectis is a good, you know, if you don't have the Rubico Prime, the Vectis Prime is very good. The Trumna, way the fuck down here at 0.94. Opticore Vandal, way the fuck down here. Phantasma, way the fuck down here. I mean, there's some things, like, granted, the Nataruk being down this low. Where did it go? I just saw it. Right here. 0.69. It literally came out in December. You can't count that number. I want to see next year's numbers before we start really banging people on that one. The Dex Cerberus. The Cerberus Prime is so much better, but the Dex Cerberus is this high. What? Like, what? What? You can make the Tenora Prime an absolute ripper of a gun. This is why I don't believe in the meta of the game. This is why I also don't believe in the Riven disposition or applying Riven disposition based on popularity. Okay, because if we apply Riven disposition, then we're talking basically the Rubico Prime, Kuva Zar, Kuva Brahma, Exceltra, and Ignis Wraith are all going to get crap Rivens unless you just roll some seriously broken shit. Right? They're going to be a Riven disposition of 1, and they're just going to be game over fucked. That's just the truth. Because of this. We're looking at the stats of this. This is why I say the Riven system broken. Fuck by usage. Fuck by what's popular. If the community is using it this much, we should take something away from that. So it's not, you know, so we can open up the charts a little to these other weapons, right? No. If a weapon's that good and you apply a buff to it with a mod that somebody goes out of their way to go farm, then make sure the mod actually gives them what they're getting, not the seeing the stats at the mod bench, and then you apply it to the fucking weapon and all of a sudden it's crap. No. I'll give you a perfect example. Secondary weapons. The Piranha Prime is number 2. The first weapon, understandably, is the Kuva Nucor. Okay, under-fucking-standably is the Kuva Nucor. That thing is a monster of a weapon. Personally, I am rather confused at the Tenet Psychron being 20%, 20.25% below the Kuva Nucor. That breaks my head. The Tenet Psychron is basically the Kuva Nucor with slightly less status chance and on a battery instead of, you know, ammunition maximum. Granted, the Kuva Nucor does do base radiation damage. And it does whatever your base stat is, which can be upwards of 60% of whatever base status is from your progenitor Warframe. Fair point. Mine is at that point, right? So here's my Tenet Psychron. Again, mine's at a 60% heat. Okay, so with my build, it's at 112.6 points of heat, and it's doing viral damage, right? Why do I have magnetic in there? I put magnetic in there. I have no idea. Oh, because it was because of a lich. I'm sorry, that's why. Or because it, yeah, no, it was because of a lich. That's exactly what it was. It was because of a lich. It was weak to magnetic damage, so I used a Psychron for that. So anyway, but I've got heat and I've got viral, and it's doing a nice amount. I mean, a very, very, very respectable amount of status damage. Now let's go look at the Kuva Nucor, right? Just for the purposes of, yes, this is another 60% heat proc. Can we see why the new core is better? Base heat, base radiation, plus doing corrosive. Now these stats will be changing because I will be modifying this, but still, base heat, base radiation, just from the progenitor warframe and what the weapon does as a base, but it's got 150% status based off of my build and a 10.5 critical multiplier, which if you want to see why that's a functioning thing, go check out the Kengineer. Okay, he's got a whole thing about what is it? Does viral kill corrosive, I think is the video. Very, yeah, go sub to the Kengineer, man. That dude he's all about breaking the code of the game, okay? Like as far as figuring out why the things work the way they work and what's the best way to build weapons and so on. So yes, so I understand the Kuva Nucor being the first. The Tennis Cycron, in my personal opinion, is surprisingly in what? 5th? And it's 20 fucking percent, 20.25% below a weapon of the same type. This one has ammo, like an ammo cap. This one runs on fucking batteries. They do the same goddamn thing, slightly different damage types. But amazingly, the Piranha Prime, this is a Riven Disposition 1 weapon, right? Okay. So the Piranha Prime, no, I don't want to upgrade, goddammit, I hit the wrong button. Let's go look at the Piranha Prime, because I have a Riven for this gun. Here's the Piranha Prime. Now, before we do this, I want to show you this, okay? Weapons should not be on a popularity contest or a usage contest or any other kind of contest for that matter. They should simply stand on their own merits, and if you get broken shit for them, you should be able to use said broken shit as it shows. Plus 127.9 multi-shot, plus 108.3% critical damage, so that's your multiplier, and then plus 22.1%, or a minus 22.1% damage to infested, which fuck that, this thing does a shit ton of slash damage, so I'm not worried about that anyway. A negative to infested does not bother me. Now let's see what it actually does when applied. Tell me that's not some bullshit. Like, is this still worth putting on the gun? Yeah, of course. But tell me that's not some bullshit. I did 15 rolls of this motherfucker. As you see down in the bottom right corner of the mod, I did 15 rolls of this motherfucker to even get this. And they nerf the fuck out of it because the Riven disposition is a 1. Right? The Riven disposition is a 1. It's highly popular. Is popular. It's a popular weapon. Oh, gotta nerf the Riven mods for it. No. So anyway, all these stats are how the meta is made, right? How the meta is. Well, that's fine and all, but at the same token, I mean, really? Is this really what the meta is of the game, or is the meta what you make it? I mean, the available tactics of the game say, play the fucking game. Figure out what works best for you and move forward. Does it take 100 hours to make this game good? No. But should you play for 100 hours to see where the story goes and to learn the story of the game? Oh, yeah. I will say this, there are 3 types of players in this game. Okay, hands down, 3 kinds of players in this game. There are the status quo players, there are the grinders, and there are the part-timers, okay? Status quo players, they find their perfect setup and they always stick with it. That's just what they do. And there's nothing wrong with this, by the way. Anybody who I find bashing in any comments or in anything of the sort, bashing status quo players, fuck right off, okay? I'm going to tell you that right now, okay? I watch creators, other creators. I really do. I go through and I watch other creators, and I find that whatever their opinion is horseshit for one particular reason, because this game is all about personifying the game to yourself, but then learning how to make the mechanic work for you. So meta is kind of, Does playing to the meta of the game work better? Yeah, probably. But do you have to do it? No, abso-fucking-lutely not. That's the whole point, is that, you know, again, meta means most effective, right? Not all-inclusive. It's the only way to play the game. It's just most effective. The Trumna is not the most effective primary in the game. The Tenet Cycron is not the most effective, secondary in the game. The Guando Prime is not the most effective, melee in the game. Nezha is not the most effective Warframe in this game, but they work for me, so that's my meta. Lavos, highly misunderstood frame in my opinion, but Lavos works for me, therefore it's my meta, because it's the most effective tactics available for my playstyle. Just saying. I get so sick and tired of seeing people bitch about Warframes. Seeing people bitch about Warframes and then kicking people, like on live streams especially, kicking people verbally in the ass when somebody says that they're a Frost main or they're a Chroma main or something like that, and then like people in the comments are just bashing the shit out of them, or the creator themselves bashes the shit out of them. So what? So what if somebody's a Hydroid main? So what if somebody is an Inaros main? So what if somebody is, a Trinity main? Who cares? If it's what works for them, then that's their meta, right? Until they find something different, if they choose to find something different, there's nothing wrong with creating your own meta for the most effective tactics available that work for you. I'm not going to kick you in the dick if you love Frost. I personally hate Frost. I think Frost is aged as fuck. I think Frost is literally, even with his new augment, is still poop. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to sit here and kick you in your dick because you love Frost and Frost is your go-to frame. If you can make it fucking work and you enjoy your gameplay, then goddamn it, you enjoy it and I'm happy for you. Okay? That's my stance. I'm not going to kick you in the dick on that. I've had people privately message me, send me emails. Why do you always run Nezha? How can you possibly run Lavos? Lavos is crap. Valkyr is so much better. She's so much more armored. That's true. She's also completely immune to fucking damage. And if you build her right, then she's kind of fucking amazing. Wow, spin like Michael Jackson there, Nezha. Truth in advertising. This isn't a perfect build, but goddamned if it doesn't fucking work amazing. It's a murderous son of a bitch. She's a screaming ass bonkers fucking bitch. And yeah, is it steel path worthy? You bet your fucking ass it is. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, she's a murdering fucking queen. You can see where she's at on my list. This is my list of frames that I use on a regular basis. Okay? The top 11 are the ones that I use the most. The last time I went and did the tier list, the shit was all over the place, right? I was like, oh, well, it's here and here and here and here and here. These are who I'm using the most these days. Nezha, Lavos, Mesa, Wukong, and Zephyr round out my top 5. But immediately after, Wisp, squad support, Mag, squad support, Volt, squad support, Korra, farming, Nova, disruptions and squad support, Titania, situationally very, very fucking good for my uses. But then Ash, murderer, Revenant, Lifestealer, Baruch, I'm gonna punch you to fucking death with the Force, Inaros, basic tank, Saren, murdering toxic bitch, Protea, get fucked anything close to me, Nyx, bumfight queen, Haro, turns himself into a tweaker, Banshee, let's do crits, Valkyr, I'm gonna become immune to everything, fuck you, Vauban, good focus farmer, good area controller, and Zaku, fun. But is this the meta? No, of course not. But does it work for me? Yeah, it does. So the only thing I'm going to say is this. Choose your own meta. Don't let creators choose it for you, right? And don't let creators or anybody else in the community knock you in the dick for your own choices of creating something that is your meta. If something in the game is meta and it works, and you find a way to make it work for you, great. If not, go your own route. Don't be afraid of it. Don't let anybody knock you in the dick for it. So folks, thanks very much for watching. As always, catch you in the next one, all right?